Iran attacked Israel in the night of 13th of April, that is Saturday, immediately after their Sabbath on 13th. The Sabbath of the Israelites ended on 6 p.m., the Israeli time. Now, in that night to 14th, Sunday, 14th April, the Iranian government sent over 300 missiles and drones towards Israel. It took over 6 hours for the drones and the missiles to maneuver their way to the Jewish land. And most of the missiles were defeated or they were intercepted by even Jordan. Jordan even helped Israel to intercede most of these weapons. France helped, Great Britain helped, and then Americans who are stationed in those places protected Israel. Other than that, these 300 missiles and drones, at least, if even 10 has hit the land of Israel, because the target areas were the northern side and then Jerusalem. If 10 has found their way onto the ground of Israel, Israel will not have been the same as they are today. So what Iran did was a serious threat to what they have been saying over the years. These Ayatollahs have said that they will wipe Israel from the map of the world. And that threat is something that is haunting Israel till today. So Israel were maneuvering the way to attack Iran, even in the days when Barack Obama was U.S. president. But the United States hindered that. They told Israel that they would not go with them if they started war at that time with Iran. So that was why there was some friction between Israel and United States. And even this has spilled over to Biden administration since he was with Obama. But what Iran has done is very dangerous to the Iranian states and the Iranian people. No matter how people see Israel today, no matter what you see them, they are still the people of God. They are the same as the people of God which they were in the days of the scriptures. These people are still the same as they were in the scriptures, no matter what is happening to them. In Isaiah 62, verse 1, the scripture said, Isaiah 62, verse 1, the scripture said, "For Zion's sake I will not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest." There's only one Jerusalem on earth. If you say Jerusalem, it is still Jerusalem we see today. It has not changed. No matter how you call it or how you think the place, whether it's occupied or something changes or something, it is still the Jerusalem which is mentioned here in the scriptures. Zion, when I say Zion, you are talking about Christians. Christians were not there that time, but that name Zion was still there. And Jerusalem represents the current Israel. If you go to Galatians chapter 4, the Bible, if you go to Galatians chapter 4, if you read from verse 24 and 25, it's explained. Or when you begin from verse 21, then you see the Christian part coming in. Because the 21 was warning Christians not to associate themselves with the law, which was given to Israelites from Mount Sinai. And he said, now that Mount Sinai represents Jerusalem, which now is. So the Israelites are there. The Israelites are not to mix, the Christians are not to mix with the Israelites and do the same thing as the Israelites are doing. Because Micah said in his prophecy, in Micah chapter 1, this is what Micah said. Micah prophesied concerning the day that Christians will come to Christ. He said, verse 2, Micah chapter 4, from verse 2, many nations shall come and say, come, let us go to the mountain of the Lord and to the house of God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his path. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Then verse 4. Now let's look at the verse 3. And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares. Then when we continue, it's said in verse 4. Verse 4. Take verse 4 carefully. Micah 4. But they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid. These people who are coming, they will join Israel. But when they join Israel from the nations, you say many nations, they will come to the house of Jacob. That is Israel. When they come to Israel, every one of them here, when they mix with Israel, see, everyone will sit under his vine and under his fig tree. Now, the vine and the fig tree are not the same. The fig tree represents Israel, and the vine represents Christ and the Christians. Jesus said, I am the vine, you are the branches. That is John chapter 15, verse 5. So the Christians and the Israelites are not supposed to mix and do the same thing. But because when they come to Israel, those who are coming from nations will sit under the vine tree, and Israelites will sit under their fig tree. So they will not join together. That's what is explained in Galatians chapter 4 from verse 21. Galatians chapter 4 from verse 21. They're warning them that the law was given to the Israelites from Mount Sinai, and the lifting Jerusalem, which now is, but the Jerusalem which is above, which for the Christians is free from these things. So the Christians are separated from the Israelites by doctrine. The Christians follow what is called the gospel, and the Israelites serve what is called the law till today. And that is why when Christians mix themselves with the law, they can't now become Christians again. Galatians 5:4 says this, and then Galatians chapter 3 from verse 11 and 12 also says these things. Or when we begin Galatians chapter 3 from verse 1 up to verse 12, then you can understand it. Verse 8 says that God himself knew that, the scripture knew that God would justify the heathens through faith. So he preached the gospel to Abraham. So heathens, they will justify you to become part of Abraham, but it's through the gospel, faith in the gospel. But in Romans 11 verse 28, until today, the Israelites hate the gospel, but verse 26, they all be safe. Romans chapter 11 verse 26 and 28, and said, deliverance will come from Zion. So deliverance is not on Sinai. So when you come to Christ, you are called the Zionists. Those Christians, the Jews are called Sinai, even though they call themselves Zionists. That is not who they are now. So the Jews or the Israelites today, they are still the same Israelites that were in the old covenant. They have not changed. So when Isaiah prophesied, and Isaiah said in Isaiah chapter 62, verse 1, that for Zion's sake, I will not hold my peace. That's the Christians. So there are two groups of people here who the scriptures might concern. The Zionists and then the Zionists. Zionists. That's the Christians and then the Israelites. For Zion's sake, I will not hold my peace. That is what the scripture is saying. And for Jerusalem's sake, I will not rest. Now, when we also look at Psalm 122, verse 6, the verse 6 and 122 say, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, for they shall prosper that love thee. When people are against Israel, for whatever reason, Israelites are brutal. Why are they treating these people like this? For any reason. If you are against Israel, you can't have peace in your life. If you think this is not true, try to hate Israel and see in your own life whether you can have peace. If you vex yourself against Israel, you are destroying yourself. Now, what Iran has done, everybody will see what it means to touch Israel. The scripture says the Israelites are the apple of my eyes. That's what the scripture said. The apple. You see, when you say apple of the eye, it's like the pupil. The pupil. The pupil or the eye lens. So when somebody said you are the apple of my eye, it's very dangerous. It means that when you touch the person, he will respond because you are touching the person's eye. Zechariah chapter 2, verse 8 says, "For thus said the Lord of hosts, after the glory has he sent unto the nations which spoil you, for he that touch you touched the apple of his eye." Anyone who touch you, he's talking about Israel. Zechariah 2:8. Anyone who touches you is touching the apple of my eye. That's what the scripture is saying. And this is very dangerous. The scripture said, if you touch Israel, you have touched the apple of my eye. That is why it is very dangerous to venge against Israel. Somebody will say that about what happened in the World Wars, First World War, when the Israelites were killed. 6 million of them were killed. And God did nothing. God did something. The reason why the Israelites were killed is that before that time, God sent deliverance to them. God sent a British general to deliver the Israelites from Europe. He created a condition when Britain was ruling over the Palestine, those days when the Palestine was the colony of Britain. Before the World Wars, he was forcing all the Jews out of Egypt to go back to the land. But they refused. That's why they were killed. But when Germany destroyed the Jews, they didn't have peace. It is recently that they are having peace. The reason why they are having peace was because they are paying reparation. In fact, Germany are now taking care of Israel. So Germany today, if Israel had problem, they will go to their aid, if even not militarily, they will go to their aid financially. Today, every year they send billions and billions of euros to the Israelites, to the land of Israel, today as we are talking. France is also the same, and Great Britain, because they found out they were part and parcel of what they did to the Jews. So Israel cannot be punished, and then the oppressor goes scot-free. So Iran is digging their own graves. And let's watch what's going to happen. That is what is supposed to be known.